Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Sunday, May the 23rd. We do have another 4-game playoff slate for Sunday. As always, guys, we're going to go game by game. We're going to talk about each game on the slate, talk about each team. I'll just give you guys my early thoughts, what does stand out to me looking at the slate on Saturday night. Just what stands out to me the night before. So before we get started with the breakdown, as always, I would appreciate it if you would click that like button down below. If you are new to the channel here, be sure to click that subscribe button as well. Also hit the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You also do get notified every time I live stream. Probably won't be streaming today. I normally don't go live on the weekends, but I will definitely be back Monday. I'll be back streaming Monday. We'll be back to a relatively normal schedule. We do have some day games once again Sunday. We had some day games on Saturday, but I'm pretty sure Monday through Friday we're just gonna have night games, and we won't have to worry about like any of the games starting during the day. But today's slate does start at 1 o'clock. I don't think I'm gonna go live for today. I should be back though with a stream on Monday. But yeah, guys, let's just go through this slate real quickly, kind of talk about each game, what does stand out to me. So yeah, we'll start off with the Washington and Philly game. Starting off on the Washington side, looking at the Wizards here. This is a Wizards team during the regular season. I've said it before, I said in my last video, during the regular season, the Wizards were not a team I really, rostered much of outside of Westbrook and Beal. Like, I rarely played Rui. I rarely played, any of these other bench guys. Really, the only time I ever considered Rui was when, Beal would be out. I would have Anson Rui then. Daniel Gafford's been someone that's kind of started to trend up lately. He's still, kind of tough to trust here. 4,200 for Gafford, in a matchup against Joel Embiid is pretty scary. We don't exactly know how many minutes Gafford's going to play. The last two games, he's played 21 and 22 minutes. He did have a massive game last time out against the Pacers. I guess you could go to Gafford, but I really think, when it comes to this Wizards team, it's just Westbrook and Beal. I mean, those are the two guys I definitely have the most confidence in. Westbrook at 12,100, I will say, I don't think it's a guy you really have to pay up for. Westbrook's obviously great. He's going to put up, most nights he's going to put up a triple-double. Going to give you at least 55 close to 60 DK points at the minimum. Obviously, he has upside for 70, 80 DK points. But on these playoff slates, I mentioned it in yesterday's video for Saturday, value is hard to come by Saturday. It's going to be the same thing here. We're just not going to have much value on these playoff slates. You're going to be playing guys, the cheap guys you do consider, you're not going to feel very confident in. There's not going to be 3K guys that, you expect to play big minutes just because it's the postseason. Everyone's healthy, or at least, guys are playing. If they're healthy, they're playing. We're not going to get, any late scratches or any guys getting ruled out. So value's hard to come by. It is going to be tough to pay up for Westbrook, but he's obviously viable. I don't think I'm going to personally play Westbrook on the slate. I think it's going to be pretty tough to fit him in. But obviously Westbrook could have a good game. He could be someone you get to. Me personally, though, I don't think I'm going to pay that price tag for Westbrook when there are other studs I do like that are cheaper that we will talk about. But then you do have Bradley Beal at 8,700. You could go to Beal. He's a guy that I really haven't played much lately. We just haven't really seen any big games from Beal. He did have a really good game against the Pacers. Had 64 DK points that one day. But at 8,700, I just don't feel like I have to play Beal at this price point. Most nights he's going to give you around 40 to 45 DK points. Obviously, he has upside for 50 plus. He can put up 50 plus any night. I don't have a ton of interest in Beal, though, at his salary. There are other guys priced around him that I do greatly prefer, like a Julius Randle, a Joel Embiid. Some of these other guards. You even have Trae Young at a similar salary. So I don't think I'm going to play Beal on the slate, but he's obviously viable. Same goes for Westbrook. Overall, though, this Wizards team I don't have a ton of interest in. I think Westbrook and Beal are in play, but neither one stand out as core options for me on the slate. Ish Smith, he's been getting decent minutes lately. Do I want to pay $4,900 for Ish Smith, though? Not really. I think he's probably overpriced at this point. Gafford, I would probably, he'd be the one guy that I maybe would take a shot on. I'm worried about the matchup with Embiid. I'm definitely worried about the foul trouble. This could be a spot where Gafford just goes out there, plays 5 minutes, and picks up 3 fouls. That's totally possible. But if he can stay out of foul trouble and you do get 22, 24 minutes from Gafford, he's got massive upside. It's just the minutes, man. They're so tough to predict when it comes to this, these Wizards centers. Obviously, Lynn is still going to start, but Lynn probably just plays 12 to 14 minutes. Then you'll see some Robin Lopez. In the past against Philly, I think Lopez has been the guy that they've kind of used in the past. He's definitely been, I would say better against Embiid than Alex Lynn has. Last time they played the Sixers, Alex Lynn only played 6 minutes, so you're probably going to get my best guess is you get like 14 minutes for Lin. You probably get like 20 minutes for Lopez, 18 to 20 minutes for Lopez, and then like, maybe, I don't know, like 18 minutes for Gafford. I mean, it's just tough. It's tough to predict. If I were to take a shot on any of the Wizards guys, though, the front court, it would be Gafford for me, just because I think he does have the most upside. But we can go ahead and move on to the Sixers side now, talk about Philadelphia here. So the Sixers pretty much fully healthy. Really the only question mark is Matisse Thybulle. He's currently available, or it said right here he's available. He was available during practice, so I'm assuming Thybulle's going to play. I don't think that really matters, but he's going to be in. So the Sixers have everyone healthy. Starting off at the top with Joel Embiid. I think at 9,800, Joel Embiid definitely feels underpriced here. Obviously, later in the regular season, he was really limited. He wasn't playing much. You saw a lot of these games. He was only playing about mid-20s minutes. But like I would say we haven't seen Embiid really at his full level, I should say. I mean, he hasn't really been getting the workload those last 3 games. I mean, he was a guy that, late in the regular season, you really couldn't roster just because you didn't know how many minutes he was going to play. Some of those games, the Sixers really didn't have anything to play for. But now it's the playoffs. I think we're going to get 35, 36 minutes from Embiid here, if not maybe more. 9,800 is too cheap for Embiid. I mean, especially in this matchup against the Wizards. This is definitely, one of the best matchups you can get. This Wizards team, they play fast. They're not good defensively. I love Embiid on this slate. He's my favorite pay-up option. He's a guy that I'm definitely going to be trying to fit in if I can. 9,800 on DraftKings does feel too cheap to me, and on Yahoo, he does feel a little bit too cheap there as well at $45. He's overall one of my favorite studs on this slate. And then you have Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris. They're a little bit more riskier. You just don't know what you're going to get from these guys. Like, during the regular season, I rarely rostered Simmons or Harris whenever Embiid was healthy. But on this playoff slate where we only have 4 games, our options are kind of limited. I could see going to Ben Simmons at 7,100. Since it is the postseason now, I think we are going to get big minutes from Ben Simmons on a nightly basis. He should play like 35, 36 minutes. The matchup is really good. If I had to choose one of him or Harris, I think I actually would prefer Simmons just because he can do more when it comes to the peripherals. It just gives you more upside. That way he has triple-double upside. So I don't actually mind Simmons given how good the matchup is. Obviously, he's behind Embiid for me, but Ben Simmons is definitely in play on this slate. That probably does it, though, for the Sixers. Like, I don't think I'm going to go to Seth Curry at 5K. Sure, he could go out there and knock down 7, 8 threes in a good matchup, but 5K, he feels priced appropriately, if not a little bit too expensive. Danny Green, for 4,200, just given that it's only a 4-game slate, we don't have much value. Danny Green's going to start, probably play around 30 to 32 minutes. It's a good matchup. He could give you 25 DK points and be an okay value play. So you could go there, but I think Embiid, for me, Embiid's the top play from Philly, and then I definitely have interest in Ben Simmons. And if you want to take shots on like Curry or Danny Green, I'm fine with that. But next game we'll go and talk about is the Lakers and the Suns. So on the Lakers side here, LeBron and AD, right now I'm pretty sure they're both going to play. I mean, Davis is probable. LeBron's going to play. I don't know. I really don't know why they even put these guys on the injury report, but LeBron and Davis are going to play here. So you do have LeBron at 10,200. You have AD at 10K. Choosing between these two guys, I don't think these are 2 studs I'm jamming in today. I do prefer Embiid over LeBron and AD. I think I prefer Julius Randle as well, who we will talk about in a second. LeBron, though, I have some interest in. I probably would put him behind Embiid, behind Randle. But LeBron would probably be my 3rd favorite stud behind those behind those 2 guys. 3rd favorite stud behind those 2. We know what we're getting from LeBron. He's going to play 35, close to 40 minutes. He's got triple-double upside. LeBron's a guy that can do, he can do everything. He can score, he can rebound, he can get assists. I usually always feel better about him than I do Anthony Davis. We've seen Anthony Davis kind of be inconsistent this season. Since he's come back from injury, he's shown some, upside. He did have a huge game, that one game against the Suns whenever LeBron was out. But, last game he did play 42 minutes, which was obviously great to see. I think we are going to get massive minutes from Anthony Davis on a nightly basis. Again, his floor compared to LeBron, I think, is a little bit lower, but obviously both these guys have massive ceilings. I feel a little bit better about LeBron at 10,200, but I think LeBron AD firmly in play. If I had to pick one, I'd give the edge to LeBron. But then outside of the big 2, I mean, a lot of these Lakers guys are kind of scary to roster, like Andre Drummond. If we knew we were going to get like 30 minutes from him, I would love him on this slate, but I just have no confidence that he plays anywhere near 30 minutes. Last game, he only played 17. The game before that, he only played 21. I feel like it's going to be matchup-based. It's going to depend on how well Drummond's playing. It's going to depend on the matchup. Maybe going up against DeAndre Ayton, they do give Drummond, around 30 minutes. He's going to be low owned, I would assume. So if you want to take a shot on him in tournaments, I guess it's fine. But I don't feel very confident in Drummond. His minutes are just going to be really tough to predict on a nightly basis. Dennis Schroeder at 5,700 feels a little bit too cheap. We probably get like 30 to 35 minutes from Schroeder. They did go with Alex Caruso over Schroeder in the closing lineup last game against Golden State. I'm not sure if they're really going to do that again. Like, I would assume that Schroeder's going to be out there in crunch time, even though he wasn't last game. He did shoot the ball terribly, though, last game, which, kind of hurt him. He still did have 26 DK points, though. I mean, if you're going to get like 35 minutes from Schroeder, I mean, 5,700 is probably a little bit too cheap for him if he is going to play like mid-30s minutes. So I don't mind Schroeder. KCP, if he was a little bit cheaper, I'd have more interest in at 4,800. He kind of feels priced appropriately, if not a little bit too expensive. I think KCP looks a lot better on Yahoo. He's still pretty cheap there, $13 at shooting guard. If you need a cheap shooting guard option, I think KCP makes plenty of sense. He kind of feels like a Danny Green type of play where, he's going to start, play 30, 32 minutes. Doesn't have a ton of upside, but can give you 25 DK points and be an okay value. Again, value is very hard to come by. So guys like KCP, Danny Green, these are going to be the type of guys we do have to consider, if we're looking for value. But then, like, under 5K, I do want to mention Alex Caruso, just because he did, have a really good game last game. He did play pretty big minutes, played 30 minutes off the bench. Like I said earlier, they did close with him ahead of Dennis Schroeder. They had Caruso out there in crunch time, so I don't know if that's their plan on a nightly basis. The minutes again for Caruso, they're going to be a little bit inconsistent, especially with Schroeder healthy, with LeBron healthy. Obviously, we had that stretch where both those guys were out and Caruso was playing big minutes, but that's not going to be the case now, now that LeBron's healthy, now that Schroeder's back. But we probably still get like 20-ish minutes for Caruso off the bench, maybe more, depending on how well he's playing. For 4,200, okay value play, not a guy that I'm very confident in, but at least playable, I think. Really, though, my favorite plays from the Lakers are definitely LeBron, AD, and Dennis Schroeder. Those are the guys I like most from LA. But on the other side here, looking at the Suns, so Devin Booker, you got at the top for 8K. I don't mind Devin Booker on the slate, but I don't think he's going to be someone I really build around. I prefer Chris Paul for cheaper. I would prefer a guy like Trae Young over Devin Booker at a similar price point. Chris Paul, though, I do like quite a bit at 7,500. I think we get probably 36, 37 minutes from Chris Paul. He was a guy that during the regular season, like even in competitive games, Chris Paul would only play like 32, 33 minutes. I think in the postseason, we're going to see his minutes ramped up a little bit. I think he's going to play like 35, 36 minutes on a nightly basis. And Chris Paul's a guy that still has a lot of upside. He's getting a little bit older. He's sort of in the later stages of his career, but this guy can still go out there and produce. He can score, he can rebound, he can get assists. Like Chris Paul legit has triple-double upside. I don't know how many triple-doubles he's had this season, but he is someone that can contribute in all categories, does have, a ton of upside. I think he, tries to play really well here going up against his buddy LeBron. I mean, Chris Paul definitely in the playoffs, I think, is going to be a guy that we roster a lot. I expect him to play really well. I expect the minutes to be there. 7,500, I think, is a little bit too cheap for CP3. I think, as the playoffs progress, we're going to see his price tag rise. He's going to be a guy that consistently puts up 40-plus fantasy points on a nightly basis. And for 7,500, I think we are still getting a nice price on him. So I do like CP3 the most from this Phoenix team. And I do like him a lot on Yahoo as well at $33. He's a guy that I'm for sure going to be looking to from the Suns. DeAndre Ayton at 6,200. A little bit scarier. He kind of feels like a Drummond type of play. The minutes, he probably plays like 30 to 32 minutes. His minutes are more secure than Drummond, but the production has definitely been inconsistent for DeAndre Ayton. Like, we don't really know what we're going to get from him. He had that massive game against the Knicks, but then he had 20 DK points in 33 minutes against the Lakers. Just 21 DK points in 32 minutes against the Warriors. I don't think I'm going to go to Ayton, but he's going to play probably 30 to 32 minutes, which at least makes him viable. Same could be said for Mikal Bridges. Probably plays like 30. He probably plays more minutes, I would say, than Ayton does. He probably plays like 35, 36 minutes. Bridges is a good defender. Maybe they use him against LeBron defensively. I don't really know, but not a really high upside player, but the minutes should be there. 5,400. He's an okay option in the mid-range. Then talking about the value plays from the Suns, I think there is one guy I do want to mention, that is Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder is not someone I really rostered much this season. I haven't played him a ton at all. But 4,100, super cheap. We need value. I think Crowder is someone I'm for sure going to be looking to. He probably starts here, plays like 30 to 32 minutes. He's another decent defender. They can use his size against LeBron. Again, Jay Crowder, this is not a guy you're going to feel very confident in. He doesn't do much outside of, shoot threes and, maybe grab some rebounds. But for 4,100, getting a guy this cheap that's going to play 30 to 32 minutes, he definitely has the potential to give us a good score for 4,100. And I want to try and find the value to get in these studs. We've talked about LeBron and AD. We've talked about, Westbrook and B. We're going to talk about Randall, Trae Young. Like, there's a lot of pay-up options. I definitely want to try and get some of these guys in, and the only way to do that is to play some of these value plays. Jae Crowder at 4,100 is someone I'll be looking to for value today. And on Yahoo, he's very cheap over there. I do have some interest in Jae Crowder on Yahoo as well, coming in at $11. But that probably does it for the Suns. I don't see too much else I like on this team. I think my two favorite plays are definitely CP3 and Crowder when you do factor in price point. But then I think Booker's viable. Ayton's viable. Bridges I have a good amount of interest in. I would put Bridges probably behind the first two guys we mentioned. But that does it for this Phoenix game. So next game we got the Hawks and the Knicks. On the Hawks side today, we got Trae Young at the top for 8,500. Definitely have interest in Trae Young on this slate. I think he is firmly in play at this price point. I think he's underpriced for sure. The matchup's not great against the Knicks. The Knicks have been really good defensively this year. They've been playing at a really, really slow pace. This game overall, I don't think is going to have a ton of points scored in it. These are two relatively slow-paced teams. But again, 8,500, that's too cheap for Trae Young here. He's going to play close to 40 minutes on a nightly basis, I would expect. We're going to see, all these stars, guys like LeBron, Trae Young, like all these superstars, they're going to be playing massive minutes on a nightly basis. So if we're going to be getting nearly 40 minutes from Trae Young, 8,500 is too cheap of a price point. I don't care, how good or how bad the matchup is. He has the upside to pay off this price tag. So I definitely like Trae Young. He's probably one of my favorite plays from Atlanta. Clint Capella at 7,500 you could look to. He probably gets around 30 minutes. Again, the matchup's not great, but we know Capella's a very high upside player. There are some other centers I prefer. Like, I'd rather just try and pay up for Embiid if I can, but Capella's viable. Bogdan, I'm not a big fan of. Not really a big fan of John Collins either. I think Trae Young and Capella are my two favorite options from the Hawks, with Trae Young being the clear top play for me from this Atlanta team. I don't see too much else I like on Atlanta, though, outside of Trae Young and Capella. So, other side here with the Knicks. On the Knicks side, there's a good amount that I like from the Knicks today. We got Julius Randle at the top. He's someone I do like a lot as a pay-up option today. I know we talked about a lot of these guys at the top. We've talked about a lot of these pay-up options. Randle's for sure one of my favorites, though. He's right up there with Joel Embiid. I think, Joel Embiid's underpriced today in a good matchup against the Wizards. I think Julius Randle is underpriced as well. We saw this guy be priced a lot, or priced in the 10K range a lot during the regular season. But today he's only 9,200, and that's just way too cheap. Again, Randle, I expect to play massive minutes. I mean, he was playing like 44, 45, 46 minutes in regulation. Like, he was nearly playing the entire game. There's a good chance we get like 42, 43 minutes from Julius Randle here. We know Tom Thibodeau runs tight rotations. We know he's going to give his guys big minutes. I think we easily get 40-plus minutes from Julius Randle. The matchup against the Hawks it's okay. The Hawks have been better defensively than in past years. They don't play as fast as they used to, but I think Julius Randle's just too cheap. I like him a lot. The minutes are going to be through the roof. He's definitely one of my favorite pay-up options along with Joel Embiid. And then on Yahoo, I do like Julius Randle over there as well. Coming in at $45, he's another guy I'm going to be looking to pay up for on Yahoo. And then outside Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, another guy I expect to play massive minutes. He probably gets 40-plus minutes, 40 to 42 minutes. He feels priced appropriately, but 6,400, you could get a good score out of RJ Barrett, that makes him a viable play, but not a top play for me from the Knicks. Derrick Rose, like at 5,500, I think is okay. He probably comes off the bench and plays around 30 minutes. Derrick Rose at this price point feels priced appropriately. I don't think we're really getting like a great price on him or really a great discount. He obviously has upside. We've seen some big games from Derrick Rose, but the floor is still somewhat low, especially since he does come off the bench. But yeah, he's going to play probably 30 minutes, 5,500. Another guy that's viable, I would say. But then my favorite play outside of Randle, my next favorite play from the Knicks, I think is Alec Burks. Alec Burks is someone I'm going to be looking to as a value option. We saw towards the end of the regular season there, he was playing pretty well. So he went through the COVID protocols, or he came back from COVID protocols, and then he injured his knee. But then he came back from his knee injury, played 3 games, and in those 3 games, he played 34, 30, and 25 minutes off the bench, scored 50, 33, and 28 DK points. I think Burks is going to be someone this Knicks team uses a lot off the bench. I think he's going to be, one of their – he's basically going to be like their 6th man. He's going to be a scoring option they have off the bench. We know Thibodeau's going to run a tight rotation. I think he probably runs an 8-man rotation which means we get probably 25 to 30 minutes from Alec Burks off the bench. Him and Derrick Rose, I think, are going to be the two guys you really see run that second unit. Even though like Elfrid Payton starts, like Elfrid Payton's only been playing like 12 minutes a night. I think Elfrid Payton, if anything, he might not even be in the playoff rotation. We don't really know, but a lot of Elfrid Payton's minutes are going to Alec Burks right now. Alec Burks is clearly a guy they want to give minutes to. He's been playing really well lately. 4,500 in my opinion is still a little bit too cheap for Alec Burks. If he's going to be playing around 30 minutes a night off the bench, he's too cheap at 4,500. So I do like him for value as well. Too cheap on DK. I like him a lot on Yahoo as well, coming in at $13 over there. But that probably does it for this Knicks team. Two favorite plays are definitely Randall and Burks. I think Barrett's viable. I think Rose is viable. That probably does it, though, for this Knicks team. So last game of the night we'll talk about is Memphis and Utah. On Memphis today, you do have Ja Morant here at the top, 8,300. I don't think I'm going to get to Ja Morant on this slate. I prefer so many other guards. We've talked about Chris Paul, Trae Young. There's just, like, even Bradley Beal, I think I'd rather play over Morant. Morant's been a guy already that I, just can't seem to get right. Anytime I play him, he just sucks. I don't think I'm going to play him today. There's too many other guards I prefer over him. But J-Val I do like quite a bit. 8,100. The price tag feels about right for J-Val, but he does have the upside to still, be a really good play at this price point. The minutes have been up for J-Val, which is great to see. Last game against Golden State, if you watched that game, he was in foul trouble like the whole game. He fouled out in 26 minutes. Against Rudy Gobert, obviously there's maybe some foul trouble concerns here, but if he can stay out of foul trouble, I think we get like 33, 34 minutes from J-Val, if not more than that. He's a super productive player when he's on the floor. If he plays 35, 36 minutes a night, you're going to see J-Val put up a lot of 50-plus point games during the postseason, and at 8,100, that still feels, maybe a little bit too cheap for J-Val, even in a tough matchup. So I definitely like J-Val. He's one of my favorite plays from Memphis. If I had to play anyone on the Grizzlies today, it probably would be him. Dylan Brooks, though, feels priced appropriately. Kyle Anderson, kind of the same thing. Triple J at 5,600 may be a little bit too cheap, but none of those guys really stand out to me. Grayson Allen played 29 minutes off the bench, or 25 minutes off the bench last game. He only played 5 minutes, though, the game before that, so I have no idea how many minutes Grayson Allen gets here, but if you want to take a shot on him and hope he gets like 25 minutes again, I guess you can. I think J-Val, though, is the guy that really stands out from Memphis. That probably does it, though, for this Grizzlies team. So lastly here, talking about Utah, the Jazz are a team I don't really have too much interest in today. Donovan Mitchell's back. He's going to be making his return. Obviously, he was out a lot during the later part of the regular season. He hasn't played in over a month. Last game he played was in April, back in April 16th. So we don't exactly know what kind of workload we're going to get from Donovan Mitchell. It's the playoffs, so I'm assuming he's going to try and play it, as much as he can. But maybe he is limited, even in the postseason. They might only limit him to like 30 minutes just because he's been, out for so long. So if Donovan Mitchell is going to be even somewhat limited, I don't want to go to him at 8,800. I don't really want to go to Gobert at his price point. I'd rather play J-Val on the other side of this game. Jordan Clarkson I don't really like with Mitchell back. I don't really have a ton of interest in Conley. But Conley at 6,700, I think I probably would rather play over Clarkson if I had to choose one of the Memphis guards, or one of the Utah guards. It probably would be Conley for me. But yeah, like Utah, they're probably my least favorite team on this slate. They're just not a team I have much interest in. Everyone feels priced appropriately, if not, overpriced. So overall, I think I'm going to most likely be staying away from this game outside of J-Val, who is a guy I do have a lot of interest in. But that does it for all 4 games on this Sunday slate. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I do appreciate you watching. As always, if you did enjoy, be sure to click that like button down below. Click that subscribe button as well, and also hit the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You also do get notified every time I live stream. As always, guys, if you enjoy this content, I would appreciate if you would leave a like, appreciate if you would click the subscribe button. I do also have premium content available on Patreon. If you enjoy these videos, you enjoy the content I put out on YouTube, you can check out my exclusive content on Patreon, get access to my full updated core plays, get access to our Discord chat, which is basically a group chat that I'm in throughout the day. I can answer all your questions for this slate, lineup specific questions, 1v1, 2v2, whatever it is. I'm always in the Discord around to answer questions. So if you want to get access to that, you want to see some of the stuff I have to offer on Patreon, be sure to check that out, link down below in the description. But that does it for this slate, guys. Appreciate you watching. I hope you did enjoy. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.